Hello and welcome to Nerdicky. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerd Steve, hanging out with Nix today. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing. It's Friday. We're alive and semi-functional.
Yeah, so I ran into you at PAX Unplugged, and Mike Hunt from Unmade Gaming kind of introduced us and said, "Hey, Nix is a cool dude." I thought he said you're a glass blower, but I was totally wrong and put the wrong thing in the title. He's like a glass blowing Viking, and maybe there's a lot of libations going around, so maybe I just misheard. Mike, but it's actually glass etching. So if you could
Yeah,
be so kind to like introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you before we get started.
yeah. I am Nix. I'm your resident himbo, internet silly person, glass etcher, independent artist. I just kind of float about the internets and do stuff. Stream on Twitch. Get invited to a few streaming games here and there. We just wrapped up a Spelljammer game and an Expanse game. Just kind of move and shake in the TTRPG community, making cool stuff for people's tables. It's pretty much my
Awesome.
focus.
It's all good stuff. Awesome. There is a link tree down in the description so you can go check Nick's out across the interwebs and go stalk him in the good way, not the creepy way. Um, and so, were you just hanging out at PAX Unplugged? Were you boothing?
No, I haven't been able to booth yet. Mostly I go to PAX was like my first big convention that I ever went to ever.
Yeah.
Being from a, smaller town in Northern California, once I started like picking up a little bit of popularity on the Twitters, I was just like, you know what? I want to go to a convention and see what it's like. And PAX was a nice medium sized, but specifically focused
Yeah.
convention that I was like, I feel like this is a good start. And it's just kind of turned into my now yearly thing of like, I just go and I just work the room the entire convention. I just wander and I always have a bag full of etched things that I'm giving out. I just, kissing hands and shaking babies and doing the whole routine and, picking up knickknacks and bric-a-brac and independent games and whatnot. And always looking for other creators to maybe collab with, or like new game systems that are coming out that I could make a token for, or a doodad for, or something like that. That's I got introduced to like Fate of the Norns Ragnarok at 2021 PAX Unplugged, and like I started making etched and painted uh rune tiles because it uses a rune system and not d20s. So it's
Oh,
PAX
very cool.
Unplugged is like part research, part schmoozing.
I totally get that. I mean, we pretty much do the same at most of the cons we go to, and and so did you go to the first PAX?
My first PAX was 2019.
Okay, I don't know if that might have been the first one. If it's
Was it?
unplugged, yeah,
Mm-hmm. That PAX
and
Unplugged.
because or was it the second one? I don't know. It all blurs together at this point.
Yeah, because I went 2019 was my first one, and then 2020 happened,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and
then
everything.
and then I went in 21, and then I went this year too.
Yeah, see, it was really small the first year. I was surprised how small it was the first year. Like I know it was the first year and all, but also I'm like, you know what, Penny Arcade, PAX. I don't think they get to really claim a first year because they've done so many of these at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so how did you get into mixing, etching, and gaming?
Those like we were talking, I've been etching since I got apprenticed at 13. I did a little bit of gaming in my younger years, but like I ran into like my first D&D groups were like the fucking worst people ever, and just kind of
That isn't that everyone's first D&D group
just
almost, like
threw
if you
me
come
off
from an older
completely.
generation.
Yeah. And so I kind of fell out, did a little bit of World of Darkness stuff for a while, went out for burritos once and ended up in a vampire LARP for 6 months. Um, and once I started doing glass etching again, I was just doing like little tchotchke, local, homegrown, artsy fartsy pieces. Uh, but I was just people sitting around a table eating snacks and drinking beer and having fun. Like, what better synthesis is there for like what I do? I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody wants me to write their character class on a pint glass or a beer mug or anything like that. And so I did a couple of designs. I was like, here's a cool wizard pint glass that I made, and like put it on the internet, and holy shit.
What is the most popular thing that you etch?
The most popular thing that I etch is I have, um, so to date, I have these glass tokens, and this one's kind of etched with a faint dice heart design. And I've designed my own character class symbols. And for the longest time, you can get like a wizard token to use instead of like a mini or like an artificer token, stuff like that. Or people like to use these as worry stones.
Okay.
And I was like, cool, I could put like little hopeful words on them, be like, breathe or peace or stuff like that. And then about 20 minutes later on the internet, I was like, or I could just put fucking curse words on them, and like that took off. Everybody
That's
was just
funny.
like, yes, I want that. I want dirty words on pretty rocks, please.
Yeah, yeah. That just encapsulates humanity right there in
Yeah.
one
And
thought.
then like it's nice being the kind of realizing my business, I sell fucks to give. Like you
Yeah.
can just keep a fuck on you, and
Give it
if
away.
you, yeah, you can have at least one fuck to give at any moment.
Awesome. So do you take on custom work?
Yeah, I do a lot of commission work. I'm currently in the process of doing an 8-piece pint set. Somebody wants the Guardians of Transportation statues from that bridge in Cleveland on pint glasses. So they took some pictures of them
Yeah.
and sent them to me. So I'm rendering them as stencils. I'm going to etch them to pint glasses. So I do weird stuff like that.
Nice. What is the oddest thing you've been asked to etch?
Oh God. Oh, some adult stuff. Of course, that always happens on the internet.
Of
Boobs.
course.
Somebody was celebrating a transition and they wanted to get boob tokens for their friend. So I did a bunch of boob tokens. That was an interesting day. That's about the weirdest stuff. Just weird anime adult art and
Yeah.
boob tokens. Um,
Have
yeah.
you gotten anything so weird you've had to turn it down?
Nothing weird.
Yeah.
But there has been a few drastically inappropriate things that I
Yeah.
won't do. Because I get like a lot of Norse pagan designs and stuff. Like people want beer mugs with just like Norse
Yeah.
pagan-y stuff on it. And I always vet all the designs. And there's been a couple um outright like Nazi-ish, and then a couple like accidentally, like this is a like a white supremacist dog whistle, right? They're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do this, and you probably shouldn't be walking around with this."
Yeah, you shouldn't want to. Yeah, it's unfortunate that they've co-opted a lot of the.
Yeah, so it's like anytime somebody sends me requests for Norse pagan stuff, I have to deep dive and vet the design to make sure there's not any white supremacist iconography mixed in with it, just so I can be like, no.
You should just etch "fuck off" and send it back.
Right.
uh, Probably
I
not very.
did somebody correction, one of the weirdest. Somebody wanted a 10-piece pint set of
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport, that scene where he's screaming.
Yeah.
I had to do 10 pint glasses with Jean-Claude Van Damme screaming on it.
What's so weird about that? I think that's totally normal.
I just like, I'm hoping that like they weren't gifts, that this person just like, you open their cupboard and it's just 10 screaming Jean-Claude Van Dammes greeting you
That is
in their
awesome.
collection.
So you mentioned playing in some stream games, playing D&D, but also the Expanse as well. So um, what is your favorite non D&D game?
Favorite non D&D game? We did an Urban Shadows game a while back, that I absolutely loved. Urban Shadows Kids on Bikes is one of my favorite, but also like my genre and trope of choice. Like I love kids on bikes as a fucking
As a
genre.
genre, it's so
Yeah.
weird that that's become a genre.
Well, because like that's my childhood. That was
Yeah.
me by myself living in the woods with a canary yellow BMX with a boombox duct taped and bungee corded uh to the handlebars, listening to the Transformers the movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
So it's just like I love anything kids on bikes.
My one group, always wants to do something with that genre. But they know like I hate playing children in RPGs. I totally not. It's just my own like thing, right? But I'm like, I'll do it, guys, if that's what you want to do. You're just not my thing. Because kids are weird, right? I know. I had a couple, so I've been one. I had a couple. I feel like I have some expertise in this area. Decided they're weird.
See, I've done some World of Darkness stuff way back in the mid '90s. God, I'm old.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went for burritos once and accidentally ended up in a vampire LARP.
Just how it goes.
Yeah, well, just like I'm walking through a college campus and there's a bunch of people dressed as bikers and businessmen, like aggressively Rochambeauing at each other at midnight, and I'm just sitting there eating my burrito, just like, I wonder what this is.
What's in my burrito? Yeah.
The Expanse. We just wrapped a Spelljammer campaign. That was a fun setting.
So are you currently in any live streams?
Not right now, no.
Okay. So are you usually player or GM?
Player. I have yet to GM a game yet because I know how I am.
Okay.
And being an independent artist, business person, I'm like living by myself. I'm just swamped to the gills with stuff to do. The second I GM a game, I'm done for. I'm fucking done for, and I know it.
You're no longer going to get any work done.
No, I'm going to have to make a hard switch, and it's going to be awful because I pick Kickstarters, and you just pick up 10,000 game settings. I picked up. I already know the exact one I'm going to GM first. Like I am a giant gatehead. I have watched the entire Stargate franchise like 13, 14 times through now. I backed the Kickstarter. I've got all the stuff. Like I've got things. My head is full of Gate lore. So I'm absolutely going to put way too much effort into something that's going to go completely off the rails the first time.
It always does. That's the way it works.
And I'm going to be done for as far as like having personal time.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least building out games and prep is fun, right? Like, so, like, there's that part of it. I mean, I feel like most of us find it to be fun anyway, and the rest of us just improv. So, like, I have one buddy. He made the game called Vast Grim.
I bought that at PAX.
Okay, so you met Brian.
Super duper excited about that. Yes.
Yeah, it's fun. It's got a cool aesthetic to it. It's a hack of Morkborg, so if people like Morkborg, it's sci-fi horror instead of fantasy horror, I guess. And also, I feel like he improved on the original design a little bit because although I love the Morkborg game, I'm old, and like the way it's put together aesthetically is a little bit hard to read it sometimes. Like you'll be reading something and then you have to do this with the book in order to follow the sentence.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, that's unnecessary.
Yeah, the Vast Grim. We were at the booth with a group of people and everybody was super excited about it. And I recognized it because their van was parked outside of my B&B.
Yeah,
that van is epic.
It is epic.
And
it's a throwback to the 80s, 90s if I've ever seen one.
Right? I'm like, I just wanted a wizard and y'all just fucking went for it. But I was looking at the little modules that they have. And I picked up the one that said the worm. And as soon as I open it, it just says the anus on the map. And I'm like, sold. I want this.
Worm
I don't
anus,
know what's going on, but I want this. This is beyond amazing.
Yeah. It's I forgot. I'm like I had a whole train of thought. And I totally derailed myself. But no, so Brian has run several games for us, and he always runs them the same way. Like as soon as we get into the call, it's like you roll this die, you roll that die, and like he just randomly generates the adventure
Nice.
as as we go. A lot of I think like a lot of the OSR games are like that too. So like that might be like a form of GMing you could look into. That's like low impact, but also it's a little bit different a game kind of game. It's less about like the GM's going to kind of like prepare a story for the players to interact and plug in with, and it's the OSR games tend to be more like whatever you guys do at the table that becomes the story that gets kind of told.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of my problem is I'm gonna want to plan out games because there's like 15,000 people I want to play with.
Yeah, that's tough.
And the luck of getting like invited to a game with those people, it was like 1,000,000 to 1. But if you throw a game, you can invite all the cool people at once.
Yeah, you can, but then the hard part is availability and matching schedules.
That's why you pick 20 cool people.
Yeah, yeah, so you can whittle down to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Do you have a favorite genre?
I'm a big sci-fi fan.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, huge gatehead. Stargate, Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars, Farscape is one of my all-time favorites.
Farscape is some good stuff.
Yeah. My best friend Sam and I've introduced him to Farscape. We've almost finished it. And then I'm going to introduce him to the comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I went through and like I was looking for things to watch, and I went through and watched all of Farscape, which was really good. SG is that would be a fun game in the sense that like it's sci-fi, but you get to like incorporate a lot of different genres in that, and it's kind of like because the setting is every setting essentially. You could kind of do all kinds of crazy things.
I've never understood why they haven't built out a Stargate MMO. That franchise is set perfectly. You just boot up the game, you're at Stargate Command, and you just go.
Yeah.
Like I would love to either in game or like a video game, anything Stargate related. They keep getting close and then going, nah,
never mind.
Stop playing with my hopes and dreams.
Someday, maybe.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a bunch of us still waiting for Firefly to come back, so
right.
Probably not going to happen.
No.
Yeah. So, what kind of characters do you enjoy playing?
I tend to like to run the gambit. Like with the Spelljammer game we just wrapped, I did a very reserved, very quiet, very just leave me alone and let me get my work done kind of character. The Expanse game, very corporate, very by the books nerd, thrown in with a bunch of belters. They're very nerd amongst the cool kids kind of vibe. So I like to see how I'm feeling for the character. And I don't think I've played any D&D class twice.
Yeah.
Although I do tend to favor smaller characters. I do tend to go for like halflings and gnomes more if I do D&D stuff.
I have to actively try not to be a dwarf. My natural inclination is to play a dwarf. This would make a great dwarf, but I'm like, I should probably play other things too. Yeah, we did I think we played like, I don't know, 8 to 12 sessions of Expanse. That was a lot of fun. And we ended up losing a player and bringing another player in, and the player that came in reminds me of the character you just described, because they were like an HR person for one of the megacorps, and just wrong place, wrong time, went over the wrong spreadsheets, and it starts with them like trying to be executed.
So yeah, my Expanse character ended up on this crew because very always corporate by the books, never took vacation, and the HR forced him to take vacation, and he
Oh
was
yeah,
actually on Luna when the rocks hit Earth. Spoilers. And so like he lost everything, but like I specifically made no traumatic background. He was just a normal, just the most
yeah,
NPC person ever. The biggest trauma was he lost his cats.
yeah,
Um, and so he just set out and, well, I guess I can't go back to Earth. I might as well, and just took up with a hauling crew
yeah,
and ended out amongst the Belters.
yeah.
And was just very just like, those moments of just like, oh, combat. We're like, this is quite like the team building exercises HR used to send us on their annual
Except for people are being
retreats.
shot and dying.
Yeah, it's very interesting. What does this button do?
Nice. Yeah, that game is fun. I enjoy the age system.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like the most about the age system is what I like the least about it as well. Is the stunt system is very cool, but also it can be a bit overwhelming.
Mm.
Because it's like you've got so many options. Like, here are the general combat stunts. Here are the unarmed combat stunts. Here are the shooting combat stunts. I'm like, okay, this is So I feel like you end up having to like pick a couple that like are your favorites, and
Mm-hmm.
just keep going to them so that you're not like holding up the game all the time.
That's generally what I've found, depending on the vibe of the character. I either like pick a few core stunts, or like I just don't.
Yeah,
I just play a character, and whatever happens, happens.
we
Um,
we also had a really cool GM for that game as well. And like if you pitch them something, they like just might turn that into a stunt. So
mm-hmm. It was
which
it the because that's the second time I played the Expanse. First time I got to play a Belter Loader. Boss man, let me tell you, I love play Belter. Uh, First time play Inner Loader, it is so much fun to just be outlandishly Belter.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, I'm to the point where I'm like, I'm either gonna get another. The next tattoo I'm gonna get is like dwarvish runes on the side of the head,
Okay.
or like the Belter helmet seal neck tattoo.
Oh, nice.
Like I'm torn, or maybe I can combine. I
Can I
can
combine
combine.
these two things?
Yeah. Either way, it's going to be a yet another everlasting job stopper because I'm committed to that independent life.
Yeah. I got a couple tattoos of mine that I want to get. I just gotta find who I want to do it, and always money. Just money
Yep.
is the other
I was
thing.
lucky there for a while. My brother did tattoos back in the day, so I got
Oh,
a couple of
nice.
free Warhammer tattoos.
And like, here, practice on me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I let him practice on his friends first, and then I was like, okay, cool,
yeah.
cool.
So we a while back we did like a YouTube collab stream called Saver Dice, and a buddy of mine threw some logos out there that my partner wasn't too thrilled with, but I really liked. And he had passed away a little over a year ago, so I want to get one of those. One of those that didn't make the cut as a tattoo that I really liked.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a cool time in my life, and also kind of little, uh, in memory of
Mm-hmm.
one of our fallen gobelos. He was in one of my games for a while, and he played this ridiculous Juggalo goblin, and
Oh,
there were and him and his partner each played one, and they were just ridiculous.
nice.
Like, so much so, like, I had planned an encounter with an evil druid,
Mm-hmm.
and they were out on a scouting mission and got bored. So they began capturing all the woodland animals and getting them high, and then yeeting them over the fence to the wall to where they are kind of scouting. And I'm like, I didn't even need an evil druid. I just needed a regular druid.
Nice. I was
Yeah.
in. We've done a couple of all goblin one shots that are the most chaotic fun I've ever had.
Oh yeah, I love goblins, kobolds. Um, we did a Starfinder one shot with forget the name of it, but they get that race that looks like kind of look like Stitch. Um, little furry critters, and that was a lot of fun. You know, plus like I just love those like kind of chaotic races that make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. You know, we totally did the Metal Gear thing, crawling around in crates to hide from killer robots in the Starfinder game.
Nice.
Yeah. So the GM describes these crates. I'm like, wait a minute. I got the perfect camouflage. Plus, they're little. They're only like 3 foot tall. Um, so what when you create characters, right? Does that inspire you to do etching type stuff for your characters or to bring to the table?
Um, I'll do sometimes I'll make like little tokens
Yeah.
and whatnot. Um, sometimes I'll make like if I'm doing like a longer campaign, I'll make a glass that's like my drinking glass for the campaign, stuff like that. I've done character stuff art for people. My best friend Sam and I were in and I've suddenly lost it, Blades in the Dark game. And it was Sam's first time ever finishing a campaign. And he sent me a few headshots of himself and said, okay, my character has facial scars and like likes this type of hat and this, that, and the other. So I took the picture of Sam and just kind of morphed it, added the scars, put the hat on, added some hand tattoos and whatnot, threw a fancy border on it, and then put like a banner with the name and etched it to like a commemorative character mug. So I've done stuff like that before for other people. I haven't had a character myself that's been so memorable that I have to memorialize them, though. But I've made campaign commemorative glasses for myself.
Nice. Very, very cool. Now, if you did start GMing, like, when you finally finish a campaign, would you have to hand out
yes, that's it. Yeah, I would have to make merch for my players. You know, what was it? Michaela Sims did a Mage the Ascension game and hired me to do barware for the entire cast. And so I'm like, I love that stuff.
It's super cool. I know, like, I think the first game we did of Saver Dice, Olga was the artist, and she like we all sent them pictures of ourselves and then like descriptions of the characters similar to like what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then they did the character portraits from that. And like and it's funny because I was playing a Goliath that I kind of reflavored as a half ogre, barbarian, and Olga decided to put glasses on him because I wear glasses, and she was like, I don't know, it just struck me, and I thought this was fun to do, so I did it. But I can take them off if you want. I was like, absolutely not. And so the GM is like, well, you guys can all have one magic item. So I took like Eyes of the Eagle, and I made them his magic item was his glasses, and he puts them on because he thinks they make him smarter. I mean, now granted, this campaign, like most of the campaign, I wore a pot on my head because something was eating the brains out of things, and he was concerned about losing his brain. So he put a pot on his head from one of the kitchens that he was in.
Nice.
Yeah. So I do love that, like, mixing of like the real person and the character concept is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So what would your dream stream look like, since you've kind of mentioned it a couple times?
Dream stream? Well, as far as like running a show and the players? The players? Oof.
Well, what game would you want to run? What game would you want to play?
I would have to probably go Stargate, only because I've thought about it so much.
Yeah.
And I think my dream stream would be, I don't know, I kind of want to run a Stargate game for people who know absolutely nothing about Stargate, and run it as you are a cold recruit to the Stargate program, just because of the videos they have online for the Stargate universe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the show.
I did not actually watch Stargate.
To one of
I'd
the
be a perfect candidate for this stream.
during the beginning episodes of Stargate Universe, to introduce one of the main characters to the Stargate program, they have him watch these videos that are just like on the job training videos
Yeah.
about the Stargate program, as narrated by Michael Shanks playing Dr. Daniel Jackson. Those videos are on YouTube. And I would love to sit the players down in game and just be like, welcome to the Stargate program. Here's a primer. And it's just like a few minutes of like, hello, my name is Dr. Daniel Jackson, and behind me is a Stargate. And like he gives the history of when the Stargate was found, how they got it to work, what the thing does, what they found on the other side. And it's hilarious to be able to use that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen them, but I recently had to go back and get a Muggle job. So I'm going through all like these different trainings and the very corporate videos you have to watch. I hope I hope it is done in that, in that genre and that flavor.
Very much. They are so corny. And
Nice.
It's hilarious. And I think I would love, like, as at least a first stream would be that, just because it's a property I feel very comfortable in, just because it's something that like I've watched the show enough and have a vibe for it enough that I can just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'll just use this is Stargatey.
Yeah,
I could just pull things out of my ass if I hit a spot where I'm like, none of this is according to plan.
I should probably go back and watch that show.
10 seasons of the original show, and then like 4 seasons of Atlantis and 2 seasons of Stargate Universe. We don't count the cartoon.
Oh. And the cartoon doesn't exist.
No. Oh god, the cartoon.
Was it dumbed down too much for kids?
It was outlandish. It was Stargate in the year 3035, and it's just like, what is happening?
Well, you guys broke it.
Yeah, just what is happening? I have no idea what this is.
So, what would someone do in the Stargate game?
Probably if I'm running for like first timers, it would probably be standard, in the vein of the episode The Other Guys, where the focus isn't on your main characters, the Stargate team. The focus is on some scientists that are going with them. The cast would be the scientists that are going with them to explore, categorize some ancient alien thing that was found that they have expertise in, terrestrially speaking, that lends itself to this weird thing that Stargate Command has found on P3X192, and they need their expertise. And so
it sounds like a
crawly.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like a great setup for a game, because the biggest problem with a lot of RPGs is you need that kind of like adventuring party dynamic to make them work. Where certain genres just aren't good at that.
And it's nice because like you can bring together players that like, this character's an expertise in like ancient Mesopotamian architecture, stuff like, and we need to explore like this weird ziggurat that we found on this planet. You can do a nice little dungeon dive, maybe throw a few creatures in. If everybody has fun towards the end of it, you could hint at an overarching bad, or just have it be a one-off. You found the kerfuffle, good job. Let's go back to base.
And it also, the great thing about that kind of genre for an RPG, Monster of the Week is very similar too, is they're very episodic, and it works great for chaotic gamer schedules.
And what's nice too is like if you were to set it up as a stream thing, you could literally like, oh, so and so y'all aren't available. Okay, well we can go with team 2. You can have multiple teams going through the gate at any time. Just like in the show, there was SGs 1 through 12. You can be like, oh well, we're going with SG3. this week because everybody's schedules lined up that way. And y'all will be going, those characters will be going through the gate this week to explore whatever planet needs to be explored.
There definitely seems to be some interest in the chat for a Stargate stream.
I've been like, you know how it starts. You rattle on about it for like, oh, if I was ever for a while. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
people have been listening to me like psych myself into it for like years now.
Valinar's Workshop also still waiting to roll dice in a Farscape game.
Yes,
Because
what's up,
me and Nix
Volinar?
have only people that still remember. I think there's a few of us that remember Farscape.
You can't beat Jim Henson in space.
Yeah.
And everything is gooey in that show. It's weird. Everything is gooey or drooling.
Yeah,
So
or the heavy attacks you with their tongue. So
I love that they went with Jim Henson Studios and practical effects a lot of the time with that show.
yeah,
Because it makes the aliens feel more alien. It's not just, you know, bipeds with shit on their face, or, you know, humanoids with the third nostril, or, you know, it's some very alien feeling aliens.
yeah. Cell phones, like I was going to binge the whole thing, but Bezos took it off Prime. Curse him.
My buddy Sam and I were at the last season when they did that. I'm
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, I'm gonna have to buy it so Sam can finish watching fucking Farscape, and I'm very mad about that. It feels targeted.
Yeah, I don't remember which service I watched it on. If it was Amazon or if it was Netflix or
Yeah, because I've seen the series multiple times, and like it's one of those ones, much like Stargate, that I'm like, I got nothing to listen to while I'm working. I'll just put Farscape on Prime in the background and listen to it while I work, and then all of a sudden gone. Like when it matters, when I'm trying to show it to my best friend, it's just like,
yeah.
no more.
So that happened to me with Doctor Who. Like I guess I was in like the 10th season or whatever. And whatever I was watching it on, it just went away. And it's back on one of the streaming services I have. But I lost the momentum to keep watching.
Mm-hmm. I was the same way with Doctor Who, and then I finally I think I came back about I left about halfway through Capaldi, and I came back about halfway through Whitaker, and I had to like binge all of that to make up.
Oh yeah. See, so somewhere during Capaldi is where I stopped. And it wasn't voluntary. It was just they took it off, and then like and I just didn't have the urge to pick it up after you're not watching it for a couple of years.
That was me and Supernatural, just because there was entirely too many goddamn seasons of that show.
There was, and each season had quite the number of episodes.
Yeah,
and frankly, right, like there's like 3 or 4 different episodes that they do over and over again anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still enjoyed it and watched it, but you know, the formula is very formulaic.
Yeah, well, it's like I could only do so much from like I need to do something other than the Winchester brothers, and then come back and just do another season, and then just leave again, and then come back. I finally, not too long ago, I think I finally watched the last season. It's like, okay, I'm done. This lifelong quest to watch Supernatural is finally over.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you watching nowadays?
Right now I'm watching The Expanse with my best friend Sam. I'm watching Willow. The Peripheral on Amazon. Wow. I've got 2 episodes from the end. That show I highly recommend.
Man, I didn't even realize Willow dropped. This going back to a Muggle job shit sucks. Like, right? we're like way behind on watching streaming shows I usually watch with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's like by the time I get home from work every night, it's like I'm doing nerdarchy work and then go to sleep, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, it's pretty much me. It's just get up, work out, eat food. Either into the workshop proper, in here into the design space, and then just hyper focus. until I realize, oh shit, I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah.
Then go crash. Watch YouTube videos because
Yeah.
they're short and they can sustain my attention when I'm just by myself.
Yeah.
Like I
Well,
can't really watch sustained TV unless there's somebody in my space with me, either
okay.
digitally or physically. I just drift off into ADHD land. So it's just like I consume a lot of short media.
The yeah, fortunately, I guess maybe I don't know. At the Muggle job, you work from between bells, right? So we're trained like animals to shuffle off the break. So when
Mm-hmm.
you eat because the bell rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's been a while since my 20 just before the pandemic lockdown happened is when I got laid off from my last like normal person job.
Muggle
So
job.
so that's how long I've been doing this stuff full time.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I think from 2017 to like a month ago, I was doing Nerdarchy full time. And things have slowed down quite a bit. So you got to do the responsible thing. And so now I'm doing Nerdarchy part time and doing the job thing. So it's been 5 years since I've done it, and going back to manual labor has been like weird.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing for me too. Is like I'm a lifting, pushing, pulling, driving job kind of guy
Yeah, yeah,
when it comes to regular work. So it's one of those like, oh boy, I really don't want to. I really don't want to unless I can find it. Like there's the Kraft Heinz warehouse is like 5 blocks that way. Like maybe I can get a forklift job there if everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
yeah, yeah. I used to do heavy construction. Like I did that for a decade before going full time with Nerdarchy, driving a tack truck. But it wasn't always that. So sometimes you do different things. But very much a, like you said, pushing, pulling, lifting job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
I did 10 years at a local newspaper in the insertion department, like distributing to carriers and moving pallets of Target ads
yeah.
and all of that stuff. Yeah, a decade of that, doing 90 to 150,000 copies of a newspaper a night and getting them out the back the door
I
to carriers.
I will say with those kinds of jobs, it gives you a lot of time to think. So there's that. Like especially if you do creative stuff on
Mm-hmm.
your off time, your own time, by the end of the day, you've thought of tons of stuff to,
Mm-hmm.
and probably thought of and forgotten tons of stuff to take and pour into those creatives.
Mm-hmm. I've
Uh,
always been a notebook in my pocket guy.
yeah,
Like I'm constantly surrounded by notebooks because I'm always just like, ooh, I need to write that down. Ooh, that's a cool design idea. Ooh, that's a neat story premise.
yeah. I think I'm gonna have to go back to carrying a notebook. Um, I mean, nowadays I would just put notes in my phone or whatever.
Yeah, I started using voice notes in my cell phone
Yeah.
because I found I can get a lot better nuance just by just going, okay, so imagine this, and I just narrate real fast and then I put it away instead of just writing it down and just like, okay, I wrote that real fast. I have no idea what I'm talking about in this sentence.
Yeah. Goblin butts. What does that
There's
mean?
yeah, there's zero context here. I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, definitely. Because what ends up happening is those notes you would write down throughout the day look like they're your notes from a D&D game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many times that the whole table sitting around going over one person's notes, trying to figure out, what did that mean? None
Yeah,
of the rest of us can complain because they're the only ones taking notes. So there's
yeah. I
that.
find a lot of times like the voice recorder app is really helpful because
Yeah.
like you can just set it there while you're working and just dictate stream of thought from your brain and then stop when you're done and not have to just break from what you're doing to write down.
Yeah. So I get distracted by the chat. Also talking about keeping notes, but also having having it happen at the worst time when they have an idea and they can't take the notes and then forget them, which
Mm-hmm.
which is fairly common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what are you working on nowadays?
Nowadays, right now, I'm doing a run of. I started playing with pin making.
Okay.
So I did a run. I have a dice heart design that I do on a lot of different stuff, and I found these ceramic tiles, and I just etch and ink them, and then add a pin back to them. So I got a run of these that I'm doing right now. Um, just because I've never made pins before, and it struck me as something fun. Um, my normal, there's been a resurgence in character class pints, which has been nice.
Okay.
So I've been doing a lot of just like robes because I have like different fonts and styles and borders for each one. For like your rogues, paladins, artificers, stuff like that. So I've been working on those a lot. A few custom orders here and there. Um, just a bunch of random stuff, really. I mean, that's that independent artist life. You're like, okay, what's my? I have my staple products that I just kind of manufacture, but I also do runs.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a run of custom one-off, seasonal, this or that. We're going to do stemless wine glasses, or different styles of fancy glass. I'll do cross-platform promotions, so trying to plan all of that out between Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch.
It is never ending. So you mentioned streaming on Twitch. Is that you like etching and talking while you etch? Is it gaming stuff? What's over there?
I do a little bit of video gaming, predominantly Sea of Thieves. I'm trying to get back into. I used to do a lot of charities centered around just chaos and playing the game Sea of Thieves. We're actually thinking about doing a role-played Sea of Thieves stream where we just pretend we're pirates while we're playing a pirate game. A lot of it's, but a lot of my streams are just like chat streams.
Okay.
With a little bit of like, you can watch me work digitally and make work on my designs. Anything pretty much in this space.
Okay.
So if I'm doing any vinyl weeding, if I'm doing any sketches, if I'm doing any digital art, I'll throw that up on screen generally while I'm doing chats and hangouts, stuff like that. I'm trying to do more maker interviews where I talk to other people who have other crafts. I had Whitney from Smoking Glue Guns on, and we just talked about being a dice maker and doing the con circuit.
I like that name, Smoking.
I love Whitney's a gym. She blew up pretty good on TikTok, and she just does resin art, soap, dice, chaotic, weird dice, and they're the absolute best. And they do the convention circuit. They table a lot of cons.
TikTok is such a weird space for me. Like, I don't even know most of the people that I'm following, just because the way TikTok works. Right? Like when you sent over your link tree to me, I went and looked up your TikTok. I'm like, oh, I'm already following you. So
yeah. TikTok's weird because like it's one of those things. None of the spaces that I have any type of popularity in, none of them are for my work.
Oh.
But you just lean into it, I guess. It's positivity, body positivity, thirst trappy shit. And like, look, if that pays my bills.
Well, and I feel like glass etching can cross over to pretty much anything. Where if someone has an interest in a thing and they use glasses to drink from, they can hook up with you anytime.
Yeah.
So that my partner had a bunch of questions for me to ask, but also they're based around glass blowing, so and most of them were inappropriate anyway.
Dun dun dun. No, that is on my list of things to learn. Is I'm trying to get the stuff to do glass blowing, glass fusion. That's one of my main things. Is like they get a glass fusion kiln because the tokens that I sell, my distributors have stopped distributing.
Oh no!
And so like you can't find these anymore. The way like I find like 30 different colors and transparencies and just different types of these tokens that I
Well,
use.
what are their original intention? What are they supposed to be for?
They just sell them as glass beads. A lot of people will fill vases with them as decorative bits.
Okay.
They're just weird decorative bits. And like I've never found any one definitive use for them other than like I put them in a jar with a bunch of silk flowers and they look pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
So they have no real purpose.
yeah, and
But
it's
they
like
get repurposed for a lot of different things.
yeah, and there was one distributor that I found that I could buy them in bulk, and
Okay.
they just stopped selling. And like you can still find a limited variety of colors on places like Amazon,
Yeah.
but there's no consistency like I would need. So I'm like, well, I guess I have to start making my own.
Yeah. Can't you kind of like they must have got them from someplace. Can't you get right to the manufacturer, or maybe you
And
can't
that's what the
order
thing is.
enough?
Like, I'm pretty sure like these are coming out of like South America.
Yeah.
You know, like you ask the distributor, like, is it a supply chain issue? Did our government destabilize somebody else's government and fuck everything up?
We would never do that.
Right? You know, and like they just don't return the emails. So I'm pretty
Uh,
sure, like, I don't know if wherever the glass blob factory is, it went under.
yeah.
Like if the entire industry went down.
Huh.
But it's like, oh well, I mean, I guess I get to learn a cool skill. I'll do it myself.
That you can be the guy that everyone buys them from.
Yeah.
How did you become a glass token manufacturer? Well, I needed them and no one had
Yeah.
them. You can become a glass token mogul.
Yes. That's how I'm going to make my billions of dollars.
And then you too can build a penis shaped rocket ship.
Yes. God.
Only bigger than the other guys.
Yes. No, smaller, more maneuverable.
There you go.
Mine's smaller, but I know how to use it right.
Too funny, too funny. Um, so, what do you need to be a glassblower? What's the next step in that evolution?
For me, I'm trying to get my hands on just like a tabletop torch.
Okay.
And then after that, it's just pretty much the torch is like 700, 800, because it's one of the like the oxygen propane, the fine tunable to get the jet flame.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To be able to manipulate the glass and build what I need to build.
I think
like
it's very similar to like what my dad would use as a jeweler.
Yes, yes. Basically the same thing. There was like I used to visit Fort Bragg, California a lot, and there's a glass worker that works at a little strip mall there, Tsunami Lucas, and I used to love just watching him make little glass figurines or flowers or unicorns or these giant huge pieces that he would
Have you ever gotten to play around with any of that stuff, or you started from scratch?
A little bit. I've had friends that did glass blowing and they let me kind of hang out and help them a little bit. Growing up living predominantly in Northern California in Chico, Chico State University has an epic glass blowing class, and they allow the public to audit it. You can just go and get a coffee and go watch them work. So I've had a tiny bit of tangential experience with it. But other than that, pretty much going in cold.
Yeah. Well, I do find that people that are crafty are just crafty.
Yeah.
So,
like
do you have a
everything
knack
I've learned.
for it, or is it something you had to really learn?
Most of the stuff I've continuously done is just something that I just was like, I'm gonna try this, and it just like a couple of stumbles, and then I just like, oh, I can do this.
Sweet.
You know, like because even my glass etching, I don't do my glass etching anywhere near how I was apprenticed to do it. Like on the most basic levels, it's the same. Because when I was apprenticed, there wasn't fancy vinyl cutters. that you could buy and have in your house. It was, you had a light table and you transferred your design from one of those Dover art books um, onto like contact shelf paper vinyl
Oh
with
yeah,
a
yeah.
like
It looks like
with
photocopy paper almost.
yeah,
Like
with a
yeah,
with a Sharpie marker, and you stick it to glass, and then you hand cut your design with an X-Acto knife and run it through a sandblaster full of actual sand.
yeah,
And over the years, I'm like, there's no repeatability here. It's going to take me forever. I'm going to have to charge like, $200 per mug uh, because the amount of work, the amount of labor involved, like it's worth that amount with that labor, but like nobody can afford that.
yeah,
So I have to streamline this. I'm good with computers. How can I incorporate that into this glass etching? And so I started making all my designs digitally. I figured out how to print to vinyl with a printer. And I did that for years, still having to hand cut it with an X-Acto knife. I think I did the calculations. I've hand cut close to 10,000 pieces
yeah.
over the years. And then like crick cuts and silhouettes came out. And I saved up to get one of those. And then it was just hitting the ground running. I went from being able to do, 5 pieces a week to being able to do 30 pieces a day by
That makes
myself.
me think about like my dad told me when he worked when he was coming up as a jeweler. They first started off using, you would make everything in silver, and then they would cast that for the mold,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on, he ran into guys that were doing the same thing, but they were carving wax. They were doing it from wax instead of metal because it was a lot cheaper. It was a lot easier. It was a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he started doing that for a while, but then he would run into the old timers, and then they're like, "What are you doing?" Like it was heresy, right? To
Mm-hmm.
not work in metal.
See, and that's what's funny now is like technically I'm still old school because most people that do any kind of glass engraving use a laser engraver that
Yeah.
you can get from Amazon. And I've played around with one of those a little bit, and I've found like it's there's no time save for me. I can whip out a piece using a sandblaster just as fast, if not maybe a little bit faster, than using a laser engraver, and I can get a lot more detail.
Okay.
Some of my super detailed pieces, I still have to cut by hand because I'm having to leave bits of vinyl behind that are like the width of a human hair, and the vinyl cutters just mangle it. And so I did some art pieces for I don't know if you know the artist Tess Fowler.
The name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
She did a run of Dungeons and Dragon comic that there
Oh,
was
it's the
this.
name's familiar probably from Twitter.
Yeah. And so she had tweeted a piece of art that she had done, a panel for the comic with a picture of a character, and the tweet just said, "My good sweet son." And she had also professed a recent love for Scotch and discovering Scotch. And she's one of my favorite artists. And so I was like, you know what? Chocolate and peanut butter. I got a good Scotch glass, and I took that panel and etched it onto the glass with the body of the tweet that said, "My good sweet son." And I said, "Hey, like, you don't have to take this because I'm just some random internet weirdo, but like your tweet inspired me, and like you're my favorite artist, so I made this if you want it."
Yeah.
Like again, I'm an internet random weirdo. If you don't
Yeah,
want me
yeah, for sure.
sending you stuff, I get it, but like at least here's a picture of a thing that I made.
Yeah,
Well, she
yeah.
commissioned me for a couple of mugs with two like the big 26-ounce chunk mugs with other panels from the comic that were just unbelievably detailed. And I was like, oh, sweet God. Sure, yes. I
Yeah.
absolutely want to take this job for the challenge and the joy of it. But I had to hand cut them, and they're unbelievably detailed. So like I still have to hand cut like the super fancy stuff.
Yeah, you keep mentioning sandblasting, and my only experience with sandblasting I have PTSD from, because we would have to sandblast things at work, but like
Mm-hmm.
you know, probably on a much larger scale.
Yeah,
So it's just like you just like you'd have to wear like a whole Tyvek suit and face shield
yeah,
and you just leave the end of the day with sand and nooks and crannies you didn't even know you had.
yeah. I always buy the same $400 sandblasting cabinet you can get at Harbor Freight.
Uh
And I don't use sand anymore. I use aluminum oxide blasting medium, which gives a much better sheen and it cuts down on the amount of silicates.
uh
So because silicosis is a problem, and I just wear a good hardcore respirator and always blast in a sealed container. And so it keeps it pretty low key. My shop floor is still a little crunchy,
yeah, I bet.
but other than that, yeah, it's a lot better than sand. I haven't used sand years.
Yeah. Also, doing anything where you have to wear face shields, goggles, and masks, and being a person that wears glasses are never a great combination. I'm
Yeah,
like,
or have a beard.
yeah, we're having a beard. Yeah, so like I've got all those things going for me. So it's like great. The thing that I'm protected against isn't going to be the problem. The problem is I'm going to stumble into traffic because I can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you going to do? So we are just past the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
I try not to have too many thoughts at any given time. Tends to cloud things up. This has been fun though. I very much enjoyed.
Me in trouble.
Yeah.
Well,
thoughts are expensive.
I definitely appreciate you coming on, Nix. It was great talking with you and chatting. Until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.